Hello everyone. Today we're joined by Lisa Matomola. She is a managing consultant at Hito, an HR training consultant. She will be having a webinar with us next week. They will be looking at hybrid leadership in the workplace. Good morning, Miss Lisa.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Okay, good. Thank you for joining us today. Yeah. Um, Basically, we're just going to be looking at how remote work has basically changed how people work basically post COVID-19, and basically we're still going through COVID-19. So one of the questions that I had was, how has remote work changed the Namibian corporate culture?
Wow, it's been a challenging year, and like you're saying, we're still in the midst of the pandemic, and a lot has changed. So when you look at the way companies communicate, the way companies engage with one another, previously we used to come to offices and we see each other face to face, but currently there's a new way of working. Everybody calls it the new normal. So the challenge is how to engage your team, because culture is about bringing people together. Culture is about how you build trust among your employees and the employer, how you manage the team, how you just work together and make sure that you're meeting deadlines. So that has been a bit of a challenge, because nobody was prepared. We're all used to having like the office space, the whole office arrangement, but there's been a shift towards the way to think about the new way of working remotely, and how you engage people and how you make sure your people are still productive, bringing about empathy, because back then it was all about get this done, but now there's been a bit of softening up from the corporate world as well, especially from the leaders. So being nice and finding out how people are doing. So there've actually been a lot of engagements, I would say, because when people are away, the managers, the leaders, the whole Zoom thing, people need to communicate. So communication has been happening. So that has been a shift, especially for organizations that haven't been engaging with their people. So that has been a benefit to the whole corporate culture.
I see. Okay. My secondary question would be, what opportunities has remote work introduced into the Namibian corporate environment?
The first thing that excites me is the fact that previously, as Namibian organizations, we were not ready for remote working or working from home. It's just things we read about. But when COVID came, the president said lockdown unless you are essential workers and stuff like that. So people looked at their technologies. There's been a whole lot of change in terms of the technology. If we're using monitors or those old type of laptop computers, you needed to move to new technology laptops where you can work from anywhere. Connectivity, we know that if you work remotely, you need to have connectivity. So that has also been part of some employees got benefits and working remotely. And the whole flexibility arrangement, because instead of forever going to the office, people were given options. If you're comfortable working from home, then you can work remotely. So that's been...
Okay. What opportunities has remote work introduced into the Namibian corporate culture or corporate environment in this case?
COVID has been a blessing in disguise for a lot of Namibian companies. If you look at things like working from home, it's not really something that we imagined. A few companies had that, but I know some of the companies that I've previously actually worked with that introduced flexibility, but they realized that because of the whole culture, because it comes back to the culture, people will take advantage, and immediately leadership decides everybody goes back to working to normal. So COVID came and it introduced opportunities such as people can work from home. They were given technologies like 4Gs wherever you are, because previously you probably needed to have your own Wi-Fi, but now we saw that companies would ask questions like, do you have Wi-Fi at home? Do you have a 4G? How is your connectivity and stuff like that? So there's been that opportunity in improving processes as well. So instead of forever printing papers and signing documents, people could do soft copy sign off and the whole. If you use, for example, Google Hangouts or Google Drive, you sharing of documents even from Zoom or whatever platform you were using. So there's been improving ways and processes for a lot of companies to remote working. So there have been a lot of opportunities. The policies HR policies. We see a lot of companies introducing policies such as working from home or flexibility, what works best for you. So there are a lot of opportunities.
I see. Okay. How has remote work changed how leadership is maintained in a workplace?
It's been one of the most challenging aspects of leadership, because to manage people that are working at home, as a leader, you need to build trust. So if you're a micromanager, unfortunately, the bad news is that for micromanagers, it was really challenging, because it meant that every now and then you need to call people. If somebody is not online, you get frustrated. But it was also a way for people to come up with new skills to manage people. So if somebody says that I can't log in, or I'm having connectivity issue, and you have a meeting that needs to run, how do you handle that? So your patience, your emotional intelligence had to come out. So the most important thing that came with this whole managing people, especially people that are working remotely, even people in the office, because if I'm in the office and my manager is working remotely, can I go to the shop? And back then we'd say, I'm going to the shop, I'll quickly come back. How do you do that? So leadership had to change, and being more understanding and trustworthy to talk towards the employees.
Okay. In your opinion, how has remote work brought about by COVID-19 changed how we traditionally perceive as fixed workplace employment?
So one of the things I like doing is I'll just ask questions to executives, especially HR executive, and I'll ask them, so what does COVID mean to you? Are your people coming back? And I remember asking one general manager for one of them companies in Namibia, and he laughed when I asked him the question. So COVID is, people are coming back to work, so are you going to let people choose in terms of where they work? So there's still that resistance from management as well, because of course it's the culture of who we are. If I don't see you, I don't believe that you're producing. But COVID showed us that people actually were more productive while working from home, but we still want to see people to believe that they are working. So it's something that management need to think about. Look at how the organization has performed, what the people have produced, how the people have conducted themselves, because we will also say it's just management, but as employees as well, they have the responsibility for accountability, responsibility, making sure that you meet your deadlines. Are you reachable where you are? Can I get hold of you? And are you communicating? Because it's not just management telling us what to do. So if as an employee you're not available, or you have issues with connectivity, can you send a WhatsApp or call somebody and say, I'm having connectivity issues? So it's about building the relationship and maintaining them if we want this to continue as employer and employee. So it's not a one-man show. It's just bringing the two people coming together. So there should be options, and say, if TJ prefers to work from home, Lisa wants to be in office, because remember, it's also personality. Extroverts, they were struggling during lockdown. They want to come to you, TJ, it's cold outside. How are you managing that normal conversation? Some people at home, they live alone. So when you're living alone, we're talking about mental health. Maybe you have issues, but when you go to the office, when you see people, you feel better. So it should be an open discussion, and say, as employees, what is best suitable for you. So the traditional way of people coming to an office, it will not work. But there should be options, and say, what do you prefer? Actually, there is research that there are types of employees that don't want to work for organizations that only focus on remote working, and there's also a group of employees, especially millennials, that also don't want to work for organizations where it's just office-based. So there is a need to have this hybrid arrangement where people can choose and say, maybe Monday and Wednesday I can be in, but the whole week I'll be at the office. So it's something that still needs trust as well, and resources, because connectivity in Namibia, if I plan to go to the farm now, and I say I'm working remotely, because working remotely means you can be anywhere but then still be accessible. Do I have connectivity? How will the company support me? I've seen some companies where employees are working from home and they demand from the employer that I need electricity because I'm working from home, I'm using more of my electricity. So looking at your benefits as well, do we have the money to top up on your current benefits and say, well, maybe we are saving costs at the office, but maybe we can top up on our employees' benefits. So yeah, it's a discussion that needs continuous.
Right. You did mention the infrastructure. You did mention that there are obviously some policies that need to be created. But now I want to look at what are the possible future ramifications of remote work, obviously within the context of COVID-19, the effects of it in basically the future labor market, and also possibly looking at employment, remote employment for graduates.
If we look at the recruitment, recruitment is one way that companies communicate in terms of marketing their brand and how the whole why should you work for us is important. So conducting interviews and when you are employed, so the whole induction, everybody, their first day you would want to dress up and show up at the office, take selfies and say it's my first day, post on LinkedIn. But now with COVID, you are told, okay, well, we are going to courier your laptop to your house and you will just log in. So the whole connecting to your employer is a bit of a challenge. So training and development, of course, online is easy to talk to people, but some people will say switch off your videos because we must save the bundles. How do I know that? How do I get to know TJ online? When you're online, you can pretend to be something else. But now when we meet face to face, I'll be like, okay, TJ actually likes coffee. If I make for him a cup of coffee, he'll give me that paper before 11 a.m. So the whole getting to know your colleagues is one of the challenges. So you mentioned as well the culture, because culture is also how you engage among yourselves. Your values, how do we live our values? The one challenge also is training people, because if you're also new, you would want to know, how do I do this? It's easier to talk to people than send an email. Some people don't read their emails. They'll say, I only read my emails at 4 in the afternoon. So getting things done. But now if we're in the office, I can easily walk to you and say, where's the printer? So that coming out and employees just getting to know each other. So training and development, there are people, new students, you mentioned about internship or student work. When people start, some people you really need to sit with them and say, this is how you type an email, delete this word. And also as a manager, how do you train people? It requires a lot of patience. Somebody sends you something and it has errors, and now you put review comments, maybe you are under pressure, so the comments are not nice. The person that receives them is like, my manager hates me. But when you communicate, you say, TJ, instead of you putting a full stop here, you could have put a comma. The reason is this and this. So when you are face to face, the whole communication, you can easily pick up from the person's emotions as opposed to online. Because if I say, I'm gonna call you right now on a video call, you think, oh, is she angry? But when I see you, be like, don't worry, it's something, we'll sort it out. So the whole training and development, giving you new opportunities. If there's an assignment, would I rather use somebody in the office or somebody who's at home? So managing the two teams and say who has a much better chance of getting the assignment. So for students, it's also internships. I've seen NIPAM appointing interns, and do you appoint them? Do they start at the office or do they work from home? So getting them to just engage and get to know the organization. So it requires a lot of, the induction process need to be improved, especially for companies that don't have that induction in place.
I see. So basically, just to sum it up, you're saying that remote work is a possibility?
Yes.
For any class of worker. It's just that the challenge would be how to engage.
Yeah, and it also comes back to the industry that you are in, because there are jobs that work. I mean, if you're a doctor, you can't remote work unless you on the screening phase and like, oh, I'm coughing and I can't breathe. So, but there are roles that remote working is really out, but some jobs, and that's one thing companies should also do. You look at your structure, you look at the type of capabilities that you have in place, and you say, which positions can work from home or which ones need to maybe automate and come in. And so the industry that you are in, if you are ShopRite, people need to come to the shop and deliver. But we've also seen even retail, they're doing online shopping, so I don't need to go to Woolies to buy anything. I can just send an email or shop online and they deliver. So it's also looking at the services that you're offering as an organization.
Okay, that brings us basically to the end of this interview. I would like to thank you, Lisa, for coming through. It was very informative. I really think basically what you're looking into this whole area of remote work is very proactive. So it's actually a very good thing. So thank you for looking into it. Hopefully we'll see you again in our next interview, another topic. You become a regular on the show. So yeah, thank you.
So can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Looking at what we're currently doing, what you prefer most? What has worked best for you? I know your job, you need to be here, but what has worked for you?
For me, I think like what you're gonna come and discuss on the webinar, like more looking at a hybrid model. I think that for my career, like you're saying, it depends on the career field. Like I'm in communications, so for me, a hybrid model works. So, and also in looking into the future, just general, also we have high degrees of unemployment in the country. So if we maybe can look at maybe employing certain people as just fixed term like remote work employees, they can also help alleviate that particular issue as well. So I feel like it's more about is it applicable to the organization, also is it economically feasible? But I think hybrid work is honestly the future. COVID-19 has shed a light on that, specifically here in Africa.
Yeah.
So I think it's something for us to look into. So yeah, that's basically my thoughts on that.
Hi everyone, my name is Lisa Matomola, Managing Consultant at Hito HR and Training Consultant. So on the 19th of May 2021, NIPAM will be hosting a webinar and I'll be presenting on the leadership in a hybrid world of work. So what the webinar is about is looking at what COVID has introduced to the Namibian organizations and in the world in general. People working from home and people working at the office. So the shift in managing these teams, as a leader, as a manager, how do you make sure that you balance managing both teams that are not at the office and teams that are in the office. So please do join. There will be a Zoom link, there are adverts. Check out the LinkedIn platforms, Twitter for NIPAM and Facebook, so that we can see you and we engage and come with questions and comments in terms of what is working best for your organizations. Thank you.